Guys, I just watched Superman and it was super, and it was a comic book movie in every sense of the word. And I think there's one comic book that they adapted that not enough people are talking about, and that's is Superman Birthright. DC just released a brand new compact edition a month before the movie came out. So I bought it to really see and examine what James Gunn took from here, why he specifically chose it, and see whether or not the comic itself holds up, especially in compact form. Superman Birthright, released from 2003 to 2004 in 12 issues, was meant to be a modern day reimagining of Superman's origin, replacing John Byrne's Man of Steel version from the 80s. Now, is this comic book any good? As far as writing goes, I think it does a really amazing job, dare I say, a super job, of reinterpreting Superman's origin for a modern audience through looking at aspects like how Superman would respond to newer, more pressing issues. And the comic makes sure to do it in a way that never turns modern realism into edgy the way that comic books like The Ultimates 3 did. And the decision to have the first two issues take place outside of America, as well as saying that Clark visited the world before going to Metropolis, really solidifies Superman's stance as being a hero for the whole world rather than just for one country. I also really dig how they presented Superman in his early years and how he makes mistakes and errors along the way. He's still really powerful, but human, which I'll mention again in this video lots of times. And it also gives a proper explanation to how Superman hides his identity, which I really appreciate. However, considering the fact that it's 12 issues for an origin story, it does seem a little long, but it flows well enough for you to not notice. And the change of Lex being in Smallville is interesting, but I still prefer the idea of him being from Metropolis just because of the further contrast between him and a country boy like Clark. The art is great, and I think that the panel layout is done really nicely to emphasize those action and adventure moments. Like, just look at this scene where Supes saves Lois and Jimmy. Absolutely beautiful stuff. And the action feels like it was made by Michael Bay with all of these explosions and pew pew pow pow. If you like Superman for his action, I think you'll be satisfied with this. I've heard that others think that the art wasn't too great, but me personally, I think it's pretty solid. However, there's this, like, just a slight nitpick I have where they constantly give Superman these glowing red eyes which don't really fit the moments, because Superman ends up coming off more menacing in the Homelander way, which is definitely not what the writers were doing in the rest of the book. But regardless, I totally recommend this. Also, as I've been showing you, this is the compact edition. DC started this line roughly a year ago as a way of making comic books more accessible for new readers, and also to compete with manga, which comes in a similar size. So for instance, here I have the Attack on Titan Omnibus for volume 1, 2 and 3, and then here is a compact edition, and roughly the same size, more or less. And then usually, a standard American comic book would come in the format of a magazine. The compact books are really, really cheap, which is a massive upgrade. I got this for like $14 on Amazon, whereas the standard trade paperback can cost upwards of $40. Since these are also really new, they are way easier to find than their standard editions. In terms of resizing, I think everything comes out okay. I don't think any major detail was lost. The full page and 2-page spreads still feel as big as they're supposed to be, and unlike some other compact books like Watchmen, which include extra text that can be hard to read, Superman doesn't really have that problem. So for anyone looking to buy the book, especially in compact form, I totally recommend it. You can either get it on Amazon, your local comic book store, or read it digitally if you prefer that. Okay, well, let's go over the similarities, shall we? Both comics feature a main plotline of Lex Luthor and Superman's first encounter, specifically where Lex tries to convince the world that Superman is an alien invader using information he finds about Krypton to frame him. In the comics, this was done through a fake alien invasion, while the movie uses the clip of Superman's parents telling him to subjugate Earth. Both the comic and movie start with Superman interceding in the political affairs of another country. In the comic, he goes to Ghana to see and try help a political activist fighting against tribalism, while the movie has Boravia and Jahantpur. Might I add, both leaders of the hostile group claim they're actually helping, but are really killing the opposing people behind the scenes. Both feature Lex secretly orchestrating attacks against Superman, in the comics with the Kryptonian invasion, and the movie with pretty much every fight he has. In both, Superman, despite being really powerful, gets beaten up a lot, and they aim more for a more human Superman, and both have a recurring message of Superman dealing with the legacy of his parents and Krypton. And shockingly, both the movie and comics have a Lex Luthor rage-baiting Superman in their first meetup.
Where's the dog?
Different things. I mean, I think that one of the things early on that I thought of was just the idea of Superman with a little bit of blood coming out of his mouth, and I was like, that's an image we haven't really focused on before. And I went,
Superman Birthright tells the story of the man behind the myth, and that's exactly what James Gunn was aiming for. Superman as a character has always been an alien who is more human than a lot of us, and he makes mistakes, he gets angry and gets beaten up a lot, but he always gets back up and saves the day. This characterization and story to show that the alien can be as human and vulnerable as us is a great way to pivot from the DCEU, where we had the Superman who was more like Dr. Manhattan in the sense of just being this godlike being far removed from us. And using a story like this as a model for the movie really nails down exactly what Superman stands for in our modern day. This movie also really nailed down that characterization, especially the dynamic between Superman and Lex, which I think is the best we have ever seen in live action. Well, that's all for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I really want to know whether you'd like to see more of these comic book type reviews. I'll see y'all in the next one.